what's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Rochelle Tumodara.
and I'm Sandra Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Presidential elections to be conducted on schedule. Joint adjournment proposal by Kirialla and Anura. Proposed constitutional amendment to address presidential and parliamentary term limits.
අවුරුදු 5ක් පමණයි ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ කාලය කියලා ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවට ඇතුළත් කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සංශෝධනයක් කරනවා.
Freedom People's Congress led by Dallas joins with the SJP. Welgamer says will announce a presidential candidate from his faction. Court reprimands police for media exposure of Club Wasanta murder case suspect. Request for detention orders turned down. 7 suspects moved to remand. Railway Authority warns that failure to report to work before 12 will be considered as positions being vacated. Railway trade unions continue strike demanding solutions.
First up in news here at home, the Samagi Jana Balaveke and the National People's Power are gearing up to propose an adjournment debate in Parliament tomorrow, emphasizing the importance of holding the presidential election on schedule.
The Samagi Jana Balaveke and the National People's Power are gearing up to propose an adjournment debate in Parliament tomorrow, emphasizing the importance of holding the presidential election on schedule. Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kirialla announced that the proposal was presented during today's party leaders' meeting. Kirialla and the leader of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara Dissanayaka, are resolute to hold the debate.
We requested for a debate during the adjournment of the Parliament. The government aims to introduce various legislation to the Parliament in order to extend the term of the President by a year. We called for a debate to send a message to the Elections Commission to call for the presidential poll on schedule. The entire opposition calls on the Election Commission to announce the presidential poll soon after the 16th of July.
The Cabinet has approved a constitutional amendment to rectify discrepancies in the duration of the President's term and the Parliament's tenure. President Ranil Wickremesinghe submitted the proposal yesterday.
According to Article 32 of the Constitution, the President's term of office is 5 years. Similarly, Article 62(2) specifies a 5-year term for Parliament. However, Article 83B mandates a referendum to extend the President's and Parliament's tenure beyond 6 years. To address this inconsistency, the proposed constitutional amendment recommends revising both articles to specify a consistent term of 5 years for the President and the Parliament.
A cabinet paper was submitted yesterday and the Justice Minister also made clarifications that in order to avoid any confusion, a constitutional amendment should be introduced and limit the President's term to 5 years. That is the stance of the government as well as the President. The Cabinet wanted it to be made a law. A constitutional amendment was made to revise the President's term to 5 years.
UNP General Secretary Palitarangi Bandara speaking to reporters at Sirikota, the UNP headquarters presented the draft of the constitutional amendment.
This will be the 22nd amendment to the Constitution. In Article 83 of the Constitution of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, the term of office and the term of Parliament are specified as 5 years. This amendment substitutes the previous term to ensure clarity.
රංගේ බණ්ඩාර පච කෙලලත් නැහැ. රංගේ බණ්ඩාරවත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාවත් 6 අවුරුද්දක් දීර්ඝ කරගන්න උත්සාහ කරලා නැහැ. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා බොහොම පැහැදිලිවම 6 අවුරුද්දක කාලය 5 අවුරුද්දක් කිරීම සඳහා තමයි කටයුතු කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මං කියපු කාලේ කියන්නේ සති 3කට ඉස්සරලා
Neither Range Bandara nor Ranil Wickremesinghe attempted to extend the term beyond 6 years. In fact, Ranil Wickremesinghe worked to reduce the term from 6 years to 5 years. This amendment was reviewed by the Attorney General and the legal draftsman before being finalised and presented. This demonstrates Wickremesinghe's commitment to not prolong his tenure unnecessarily. As we are not members of political parties with cowards, Ranil Wickremesinghe took decisive action during the country's crisis, assuming the lone leadership like a lion, allowing us to live peacefully today. In contrast, others fled in fear. The so-called leaders who fled now criticize are like foxes. Those representing the compass also fled. Sajith Premadasa too ran away and is now making noise.
මොකද මාලිමාවේ උදවියත් වෙලා වෙනකොට පැනලා ගියා දැන් හුක්කේ හුක්කේ ඌ කියනවා. සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාසත් ඒ වෙලාවේ පැනලා ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරලා හුක්කේ හුක්කේ ඌ කියනවා. නරි වගේ නායකයෝ නෙවෙයි ඉන්නේ.
The March 12 movement maintains a position that the presidential election must take place.
ආණ්ඩුව අපිට පේන්නේ අර මැජික් බොක්ස් එක වගේ එක එක දවසට එක එක එළියට ගනිමින්.
The government is pulling out tricks from its magic box one by one. They are trying to create uncertainty among people, and there is absolutely no need for a constitutional amendment ahead of the presidential poll. The Elections Commission is ready to hold the election, and the Supreme Court has delivered a clear determination that the tenure is 5 years. If such a constitutional amendment is introduced to the parliament, one can go to court over that. There is a risk of this process being delayed by such moves. Therefore, at this time, it is not wise to bring forward constitutional amendments that require a referendum. A referendum is also an election that will cost 10 billion rupees. We urge the authorities to refrain from adopting such moves. We urge the Election Commission to solve all issues and call for the election at the first possible instance.
කොමිෂන් සභාවෙන් අවධානයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ මැතිවරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්න පුළුවන් පළමු අවස්ථාවේ මැතිවරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන හැටි.
We know that President Ranil Wickremesinghe is serving out the term of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, which again is 5 years. There should really be no dispute, there should really be no speculation as to whether the term of the current president is 5 or 6 years. It is 5 years, and we therefore wholeheartedly welcome the decision of the Supreme Court that it is 5 years and not 6 years. And so, by the 17th of July, the Election Commission will be empowered to announce the date of the next election. And I hope that speculation and attempts of playing around, fiddling around with the date of the election stops immediately. In Sri Lanka today, our social contract is in pieces. Nothing functions in the way that it was intended to and in the way that it should. We have a problem of trust, of confidence, of legitimacy. In a functioning democracy, that is mended by going to the people to receive a mandate from them. In that respect, elections are the basic fundamental process and mechanism for choice and change in a functioning democracy. The legitimacy that an election would give a government is absolutely pivotal and fundamental to us moving forward in implementing whatever conditionalities we have agreed with the IMF, whatever tough decisions we ourselves decide that we have to make.
Several parties commented on the matter today.
There is no use of playing these tricks. That will only lead to their own downfall. Recently, they tried their final trick. That attempt too was rejected by the Supreme Court. This government, which is claiming to not be afraid and have a solution to every problem, was compelled to try the final trick they had up their sleeve. That too was foiled by the Supreme Court. They made this attempt because they are afraid of facing an election. The SLPP has split into two factions. Even if they unite, they would be of no threat. Divided divided or united, they can be defeated. Do not fear that. Do not attempt to avoid this election, which tests the people's mandate by using various tricks. There are no changes that should be made to 83B of the Constitution. That has been emphasized by the Supreme Court thrice. Therefore, the change from 6 to 5 years need not be done in a hurry. I believe the President knows this subconsciously. So does the Cabinet. Knowing this, they are attempting to avoid holding the election. We must tell the President and the Cabinet not to do such things that are against the Constitution. The people have been waiting to appoint a President who truly loves the country. The presidential election will be held duly. The government is not scared of facing an election. The election will be held as it should be held. Such statements are being made by misled MPs who left us to join the opposition.
Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sriratnayaka stressed that according to the Constitution of Sri Lanka and the Elections Act, the next president must be appointed before November 18th.
The Constitution of Sri Lanka mandates that the President be elected by the 18th of November 2024. The election will be held between the 16th of September and the 17th of October. Financial arrangements are underway. We have informed relevant institutions including the Sri Lanka Police, the government printer, the Department of Posts and other political entities to take necessary preparatory steps for the election. Nominations for the Election Commission will be called shortly and the official election date will be announced.
Parliamentarian Charita Herath from the Freedom People's Congress said that negotiations with the SJB were successful and they will face the presidential election via a broad political force.
All attempts to shy away from the presidential election have failed. They have been defeated. Therefore, we believe that the crucial presidential election will take place in the first weekend of October or the second weekend. We held talks with all political parties. However, the talks with the main opposition faction, the Samagi Jana Balaveke, have proven to be successful. We believe that we can forge ahead with the main political faction to bring a political change in the coming weeks.
තීරණාත්මකව මැදිහත් වෙන්න ඉදිරි සති කීපය තුල අපිට පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙයි කියලා.
දැන් ඔබතුමා පොඩි ඉංගියක් දුන්නා සමගි ජන බලවේගයේත් එක්ක කරපු සාකච්ඡා සාර්ථකයි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක එහෙමද වෙන්නේ ස්ථිරයිද?
අපේ කණ්ඩායමේ සමහර අය ඊට ඒකේ සමහර කොටස්වලදී සඳහන්.
Some members joined with them over time. However, we remained separate and independent, but we worked with them as a group. However, we are on the verge of an election. The talks we had with the SJB were successful. Therefore, we are ready to face the presidential election via a broad political force.
බලන බලවේගයක් ඇතුලේ ජනාධිපතිවරණයට මුණ දෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
The Navalanka Freedom Party is also preparing to put forward a candidate to run for president.
Ranil
Wickremesinghe, speaking in this house, commented on looting the Bank of England. When we were on the opposite side, we were the ones who called Ranil Wickremesinghe the central bank thief. I do not believe that all are good. We are all crooks, and that needs to be said. We cannot claim that individuals are clean-slated. We are all rogues. On the 7th July, Ranil Wickremesinghe spoke at a rally in Kalutara. Mahinda Rajapaksa is the leader in our hearts. The Supreme Court ruled that the Rajapaksas are responsible for the economic collapse. Those linked to importing clinical waste are also accountable. Rohita Bekurvardhana was also present. The president sought permission from him to speak. The comments read that all are thieves. Are these the next leaders of the country? I have one objective, that is to chase away the leaders who want to carry on with these rogues and put forward a candidate from the Kalutara district and from the Navalanka Freedom Party.
The presidential election is months away and the local government election has been delayed while nominations were called for the poll.
At the same time, provincial governors had appointed local government representatives who submitted their nominations to monitor development programs, and this move attracted strong criticism. A debate broke out in Parliament over this situation.
The provincial governors have appointed local government candidates as coordinating personnel. The public have filed complaints over this, citing that there is no one to give an ear to their issues in the local government bodies. These institutions have been functioning with the public officials. Therefore, as per the powers vested in the government, each local government body was given a governor's secretary. When local government elections have been announced, the power lies with the Elections Commission. The Elections Commission warns that candidates cannot be appointed to these posts. Do you accept it or disregard it?
The
powers of the governor have been implemented according to the Act. If anyone believes the appointments are wrong, they are welcome to challenge them in court. For instance, you challenged the chairman of the party in court. Is it appropriate to appoint Mujibur Rahman now? Currently, Mujibur Rahman is a candidate for a local government body. The Election Commission cannot simply act according to party whims. I believe commissions contributed to our downfall and the country's struggles. Despite any objections, we will proceed with these appointments in other provinces come Friday. When Sajith Premadasa is distributing boards to schools and conducting election campaigns, the commission is asleep. A commission must be independent. These individuals did not enter the field just to play a match. I have been waiting for 1.5 years to come back. What is the issue? If there is a problem, take it to the Supreme Court. Otherwise, do not come here to pressure the Election Commission or criticize its proceedings. According to Article 104 of the Constitution, the election law is in force once an election is announced. Honourable Chairman, appointments and promotions cannot be made to favour a candidate. Former Minister Mahindananda Aluthgamage, as a senior member of Parliament, should know this. In the name of democracy, we in Parliament are addressing the obstinacy displayed by them. No one can promote a candidate.
The Randoro Urumaya housing deed awarding program's first phase will provide 50,000 houses to low-income families residing in Colombo. The National Housing Development Authority plans to award title deeds to 1,070 beneficiaries by the end of this year.
Today we have achieved economic stability. Without this, our country could have faced crises similar to Lebanon and Kenya. We are now working to ensure that the people benefit from this newfound economic stability. In just 2 years, we managed to lift the country out of bankruptcy. I truly understood the value of a house when my home burned down 2 years ago. As a result, everything in my house, including my books, was destroyed. This experience deepened my appreciation for the importance of having a home, which inspired us to launch this project to grant people the right to own their houses. As a government, we are committed to providing as much relief as possible to the people. Some even ask if we cannot remain bankrupt, citing that things they never got before were given when the country was bankrupt. Our achievements were possible due to our dedication. Why were previous governments unable to accomplish these tasks? I must extend my gratitude to all the ministers involved. We must continue these efforts together. I believe no one wants to revert to the old ways. If we fail to uphold our agreement, we will face even greater difficulties as a nation.
මේ තියෙන ගිවිසුම අපි ආරක්ෂා කරන්නේ නැත්නම් මීට වඩා අමාරු තත්යකට එනවා. මේක අපි ආරක්ෂා කරන්න ඕනේ.
The Election Commission will be empowered to proclaim the date for the presidential election in 6 days.
The power of the people.
Lanka's Got Talent. Weekends at 8:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
7 individuals who were arrested on suspicion on the shooting at Club Vasanta, also known as Surendra Vasanta Pereira, have been remanded until the 22nd. This was after they were presented before the Kadula Magistrates Court this afternoon.
37-year-old Club Vasanta, also known as Surendra Vasanta Pereira, and Nayana Vasulavijayasuriya were killed in an attack by two armed men who broke into a new business establishment at the Athuragiriya junction at about 10 a.m. on Monday. Vasanta's wife, Manik Vijayawardena, a woman named Yomana Kaushadi, popular local singer K. Sujiva, and another person were injured in the incident. K. Sujiva suffered severe injuries to her left leg due to gunfire, while Manik Vijayawardena, currently being treated at the Homagama Hospital, sustained serious damage to one of her lungs. The investigation into this crime is being led by Deputy Inspector General of Police, Western Province South, Gayanga Marapana. He updated the media on the progress of the investigation at the Athuragiriya police station today. The Deputy Inspector General of Police and other police officers questioned the owner of the business establishment, who is currently under arrest. According to his statement, the crime was orchestrated by criminals Lokupati and Unakurwe Shanta, who are based in Dubai. The police reported that Lokupati facilitated funds for the launch of a tattoo parlor through Mahesh Danushka Silva, alias Keta, who is from Balapitiya.
What is Mahesh kata kala මොකද කිව්වේ? එයාගේ ඊයේ කිව්වා කතා කරලා බලන්න. අයියගේ නමක් කිව්වද? නෑ. ඊපස්සේ ඊයේ කතා කරලා ෂොප් එකට දාන්න කීයක් යනවද දැවුවා. කොහොමද දැවුවා? ලක්ෂ 10ක් පාරකට යනවා නෝමල් දානවා නම් මම අරගෙන ආවා මේ අයි ෂොප් එකට දාන්නවද කියලා. ෂොප් එකට දාන්න තරම් බැලුවා. මේ තාම නෑ ආස් එකක් දුන්නා බැලුවේ නෑ කියලා. හරි ටිකක් බලන්න කිව්වා. එතකොට මම දෙතුමක් බැලුවා. මම CS tattoo supply එකකින් quotation එකක් ගත්තා සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඒ quotation එක අරගෙන මම යාර WhatsApp කරා. ඊට ලක්ෂ 2ක් ගානක් කිව්වද ඒ එකකට මම ලක්ෂය දැම්මස පස්සේ මම දෙකට බලන්නේ අයියගේ රෙන්ට් එකට ඉන්න ගෙදර අයියගේ account එකට මගේ account එකක් තිබෙනවා ආයෙත් දැම්මා අදයි 86යි 500 86යි 500 දැම්මස තමයි අයියගේ account එකට දාලා ඒ කඩේ ගත්තා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ අතරේදී පැටි කතා කරලා තමුන්ට මොනවද කිව්වේ මගෙන් මම ඊට පස්සේ මගේ shop එකට shop එකේ අපේ shop එක open එකට කවුද ආවේ සුජී මිස්ටර් වන් කියන්නේ ඉන්නේ සුජී මිස්ටර් මම නෝනවා ඒකට ආවේ ලොකු brand base එකක් ඉන්නද කියලා මම ඒකත් කිව්වා ඉතින් ඉන්නවා කියලා ඊට පස්සේ ආවා මේ ක්ලබ් වසන්ත මොකද කියලා දුන්නා එයා කිව්වා කවුද කිව්වේ පැටි වසන්ත දුන්නා මම කොහොමද වසන්ත කියලා ඊට පස්සේ ක්ලබ් වසන්ත කියලා ඊට පස්සේ මම කොහොමද මේ අයියා මම පොඩි ගානක් ගන්න සර්ගේ ප්‍රෑන් එකේ මම කවුද කියලා අඳුරන්නේ නෑ ඊට පස්සේ ගුවා මල්ලි මේ මිනිහට මාන brand base එකක් ඉන්නවා එයාගේ page එකෙන් අපේ shop එකේ poster share කරගත්තොත් ලොකු publicity එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඔය ඊට පස්සේ එයා කිව්වා මේ ඔයා කතා කරලා බලන්න කිව්වා. මම පොල් නම්බරයක් නැහැ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මම screenshot එකක් දාලා ඉපසව Facebook එකකින් page එකකින් screenshot එකක් දාලා තිබ්බා මැඩම්ගේ වසන්ත සර් මැඩම්ගේ ට්‍රීම් කරන තැන ඔෆිස් එකේ නම්බර එක.
ඒකෝට ඒගොල්ලෝ කතා කරලා තිබ්බද මේ වසන්තට?
නෑ සර්. ඇයි?
The police have gathered more crucial information about the van used by the criminals to escape. It was parked at a house in Beliapa for over 3 months, which was owned by a vehicle repossession agent or a repo man linked to a financial institution. This person has now been arrested. During the investigation, it was revealed that Unakurwe Shanta managed the vehicles, while Lokupati was making plans for the business premises. The 7 suspects arrested by the police were brought before the Kaduvela Magistrates Court under tight security.
පළවන සැකකරු පොලිසිය අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමෙන් පසු නියෝජ්‍ය පොලිස්
After the first suspect was arrested by the police, he was questioned by a DIG in the presence of the media, after which his comments were aired as a confession by the media. There is no legal provision for a statement being made by a suspect to be aired live or as a recorded video. It was stressed in court that the investigations must take place in a just manner. The request to detain and interrogate the suspects was turned down by the Kaduvela magistrate.
ආරේ රඳවා ප්‍රශ්න කිරීමට කරන ලද ඉල්ලීම කඩුවෙල උගත් මහේස්ත්‍රාත්තුමිය විසින් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනු ලැබීමක්.
Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Piris disclosed to the Colombo Additional Magistrate that businessman Viranjit Thampulugala, who gained popularity for organizing festivals and concerts nationwide, received over $20 million in 2022 into his account. This revelation was made during the hearing of the case filed against Thampulugala by the Criminal Investigation Department for financial fraud amounting to 70 million rupees.
The Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Piris asserted that making confidential or in-camera statements about officers from the Criminal Investigation Department demanding ransom to manipulate the case constitutes an abuse of judicial power. He emphasized that such actions could adversely impact investigations related to financial fraud and assets. Furthermore, despite the suspect being a businessman, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piri said that no registered place of business or relevant accountant could be traced in his name. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piri disclosed that the address provided as his business location turned out to be a private residence. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piri also highlighted that if the investigating officers indeed demanded money from the suspect, a formal complaint should be lodged with the Bribery or Corruption Commission, and the Attorney General's office would then provide necessary support. The case is scheduled for another hearing on the 3rd of October.
මමත් මහපාරේ කොහේ හරි වෙඩි කාලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ආරක්ෂාව ඉල්ලුවා. බලමු අපි වින්දිතයන් ආරක්ෂා කරන එක ඉල්ලුවා. බලමු මගේ ආරක්ෂාව මම සපයා ගන්නවා පුළුවන් තරක් මම නිරායුධ පුද්ගලෙක් දෙයියෝ තමයි බලා ගන්න.
Despite railway workers being instructed to report to work before noon today, the strike initiated by the station masters continues.
These station masters began a one-day token strike from midnight last night, driven by various demands including issues related to non-promotion.
In a tragic turn of events, an individual who fell off a train close to Bemmulla train station died after sustaining serious injuries earlier this evening.
Numerous train journeys were cancelled this evening, causing inconvenience to commuters. Additionally, train services have been disrupted since last night, affecting operations today as well.
No matter what happens, it is the common people who end up suffering. This political system needs to change into one under which the people can live a better life.
We buy the season ticket on the 1st of the month. Then we end up spending the remainder on bus fares. Travelling by bus is very costly. Poor people always end up suffering.
Many railway stations, which are usually filled with passengers, appeared to be deserted today. Sri Lanka's army and police deployed troops to ensure the security at railway stations. The Department of Railways stated that 2 trains each travelling from Colombo Fort to Chilau and Colombo Fort to Beyanguda, 2 trains from Polgahavela to Colombo Fort, 3 trains from Galle to Colombo Fort as well as 1 train from Alutgama to Colombo Fort had to be cancelled this morning due to the strike. The Ministry of Transport has made arrangements for passengers who have already purchased season tickets to use it when boarding SLTB buses. The railway controllers announced its support towards the strike initiated by station masters. The Ministry of Transport and Highways announced that the transport service has been declared as an essential service by an extraordinary gazette. The ministry stated that strict disciplinary measures will be taken against those who fail to report to work. The General Manager of Railways stated that station masters who do not report to work today will be considered as having left the service.
මහා බණ්ඩාගාරයේ ලේකම්ගේ ඔළුව අරන් බිත්තිය ගාලා කුඩු කළත් ඒ මිනිස්සයා කොහෙන්ද මේක දෙන්නේ?
No matter what is done, how can the Treasury Secretary provide these funds? I begged those on strike not to do it, as people use the small amount of money they have in their hands to purchase their season tickets. I gave them time until 12 today and asked them to report to service. If they do not report to work, they will simply lose their job. We will consider them as those who have vacated the service and proceed from that point onwards.
රැකියාව අහිමි වෙනවා. සේවය අතහැර ගියා ලෙස සලකලා ඊට පස්සේ ගන්න තියෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග අඩියෙන් අඩිය අපි ගන්නවා.
Are the trade unions willing to report to work?
If the general manager can run the Department of Railways without our contribution, we are more than happy to let him do it. We have decided to engage in a continuous strike. We have no need to discuss matters. We had 20 to 30 discussions with the minister. He has given his recommendation. We need decisions, not discussions. At least let us know if they can or cannot. They aren't even telling us that.
Let's now connect to Newsfirst Juad Abdin, who's joining us from the Fort railway station.
I'm here at the Fort railway station. We are considering the current situation. Scores of people have been affected by the trade union action launched. Now, what the people had to say us and the passengers traveling in trains had to say us is that all they want is to head back home. Now, earlier today, despite the strike launched, we did see 35 trains operate, and we also saw a request made to retired railway personnel to report to work in order to make sure that services go on smoothly. And amidst all this, we have been told by the Railway Station Masters Union that the trade union action will continue. Now, reporting to you on the latest situation here in Fort alongside Nandan Vimala Sena, this is Juad Abdin for the Newsfirst team.
Over the past 2 days, more than 300 state sector trade unions engaged in a trade union action by calling in sick. The Teachers and Principals Association supported the trade union action yesterday. The trade union action aimed to secure a fair salary increase, arguing that it should be commensurate with the 25,000 rupee allowance given to executive officers. In response to the trade union action, a proposal presented to the cabinet yesterday suggested offering special allowances and certificates of appreciation to the teachers and government employees who reported to work.
ඉතාම වගකීමෙන් යුතුව තමන්ගේ රාජකාරී ඉෂ්ට කරපු දායක නොවන ශ්‍රේණියේ සියලු
To recognize all non-executive grade state sector employees who performed their duties responsibly, the proposal recommends a salary increase and a certificate of appreciation added to their personal files after reporting for service. These efforts will also be considered in future promotions. Following this proposal, all ministers expressed their appreciation and agreed with the cabinet paper presented by the president. To recognize teachers who reported for duty, the government proposes salary increases alongside certificates of appreciation. Grade 3 teachers will see a hike of 525 rupees, while Grade 2 first class and Grade 1 teachers will receive 1,335 rupees and 1,630 rupees respectively, all without impacting pensions. Salary increases for other state sector employees will also be given.
වර්ධකයක් ලැබෙනවා. අනිත් රාජ්‍යාංශයේ අනිකුත් සුළු සේවකයන් අනිත් අයටත් වැඩ කරපු සියලු දෙනාට මෙවැනි වැටුප් වර්ධකයන් ලැබෙනවා ඇති.
Members of the trade unions that engaged in trade union action by calling in sick gathered in Colombo today.
Ranil Rajapaksa is giving allowances and rewards to those who did not engage in the strike as if he is rewarding his supporters. Is this a joke? The government denies fair compensation to working people yet grants privileges to supporters. This decision is unacceptable and must be reversed immediately. This government's approach is divisive. They create resentment by offering benefits to some state sector employees while neglecting others. This tactic fuels crisis within the public service instead of solutions. Their actions force public sector employees into taking drastic measures during a time when cooperation is crucial. The established procedure clearly does not allow for these kinds of selective benefits. We demand an immediate salary increase for all state sector employees and the scrapping of this discriminatory pay raise introduced in 2024. This isn't the 80s. It is a new era that demands fair treatment for all. Expect significant action next week if this isn't addressed.
The Principals Union engaged in a protest at the Puldua Junction in Battaramulla this morning, claiming that their concerns should be voiced to members of Parliament. The Assistant Sergeant at Arms of the Sri Lanka Parliament arrived at the location.
We wish to notify all MPs about the concerns of principal grade officials. We plan to request an adjournment debate to discuss those concerns. Will you be able to assist us on this matter by notifying the Speaker about this?
Leader of Opposition Sajid Premadasa also visited the protest site. The families of Sri Lankan youth trapped in Myanmar's cyber slave camps engaged in a protest near the parliament today.
49 of our children went to Thailand for jobs in the IT sector. They went on visit visa. It's been 252 days since they left Sri Lanka. We have informed every possible government institution about this, but we haven't received any solution regarding this matter.
All those children are suffering. There's not a single place that we didn't visit in Sri Lanka asking for a solution. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa also arrived at the protest site.
I am not sure if you are aware, but a salary cut of 3,000 rupees to 6,000 rupees occurs when a principal is promoted from grade 2 to grade 1. There are many such anomalies. A cabinet paper submitted by you remains stagnant at the subcommittee. Try to expedite it and obtain approval. There is a massive protest being held at the Poldua Junction seeking justice for young men and women who are currently stranded in Myanmar. I wish to make a request from you. The protesters have images of how cruelly those youth have been treated. Get them to your hand and look at them. We need a more aggressive state intervention regarding this. The Myanmar matter does not concern me. I will have to ask them and provide a response. The matter over principals' salary anomalies has arisen because of the concerns over teachers' salary anomalies. A cabinet decision has been made to discuss with the Treasury over the provision of a communication allowance and a transport allowance. What is left is for the Treasury and our Ministry Secretary to discuss it and provide a solution. We have reached the final stages of the matter.
A fire broke out at the National Library and Documentation Services Board of Sri Lanka this morning. Chairman of the National Library and Documentation Services Board of Sri Lanka, Professor Nandana Dharmaratna, said the fire was doused by 10:40 a.m. this morning.
The fire broke out in the ground floor of the National Library and Documentation Services Board located in Torrington. Fire Services Department of the Colombo Municipal Council was deployed to the library premises and the fire was fully contained with their intervention.
Only a small AC machine and 2 paintings were burnt. No other damage was recorded. The fire caused only very little damage. None of the documents, books, governments, gazettes, newspapers or other reports used by the public were harmed. As the chairman, I responsibly vouch that no documents were damaged.
Ready to lead, ready to win. Jatika Janabala Vegaya.
Stuck inside their homes, yearning for connection. That's what life was like for families in Kolayaya and Aldenia villages. But with the foundation laid for a bridge, these communities can finally come together, opening doors to a brighter future.
Continuing in more local news, Japan has agreed to resume funding for the Bandaranaike International Airport Terminal 2 expansion.
The Japan International Cooperation Agency has agreed to resume the second terminal of the Bandar Naik International Airport extension project under a concessionary loan scheme. Sri Lanka's Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation said that JICA agreed to provide 170 billion rupees for the construction that will proceed under the concessionary loan scheme. After the completion of the terminal, the airport will be able to handle 16 million passengers per annum from the current number of 6 million and eventually ease the air traffic movement. JICA delegates had informed Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva that an agreement for the concessionary loan scheme will be signed soon and tenders for the construction process will be called for in September.
India's exploration plans have clashed with Sri Lanka's continental shelf claim.
The Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it is closely monitoring reports related to the country's submission on its continental shelf to the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf in New York. Additionally, the International Seabed Authority in Jamaica is exploring cobalt-rich crusts in the Afanese-Nikitin seamount. Coastal states, including Sri Lanka, have the right to claim an extended continental shelf beyond the 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone under Article 76 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Accordingly, Sri Lanka submitted technical and scientific data to the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf in 2009 to define the outer limits of its continental shelf in the Sea of Sri Lanka. Despite discussions with its subcommission, recommendations on Sri Lanka's submission are pending due to India's request for a review of the claimed area. Separately, India seeks the International Seabed Authority approval for exploring cobalt-rich ferromanganese crusts in the same region. Cobalt, though widely dispersed, makes up only 0.001% of the Earth's crust. It is found in small quantities in terrestrial and meteoritic native nickel iron in the Sun and stellar atmospheres. Most of the cobalt produced is used for special alloys. A relatively large percentage of the world's production goes into magnetic alloys, such as the alnicos for permanent magnets. Sri Lanka has raised concerns with the International Seabed Authority and requested postponement until the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf process concludes. Both matters are currently under consideration by the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf and the International Seabed Authority. The ministry clarified the recent speculations about Sri Lanka ceding sovereign rights are unfounded.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe highlighted that the Mahaveli Water Security Investment Program will ensure the delivery of water from the Moragakhanda Reservoir to Huruveva and Mahakandara Veva.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe held discussions on the Mahaveli Water Security Investment Program at the Ministry of Finance with Yusuf Al-Mulam, Asia Pacific Regional Manager of the OPEC Fund for International Development. He highlighted that the program is currently being implemented under the facility of over $300 million from the Asian Development Bank. He further announced that the OPEC Fund has agreed to co-finance another $100 million. He ensured that the project will deliver water from the Moragakhanda Reservoir to Huru Lake and the Mahakandara Valley and emphasized that its progress is a testament to the success of Sri Lanka's debt restructuring and reform program.
A welcome reception was organized on board the Turkish warship TCG Kinaliada, which booked at the port of Colombo.
Turkish warship TCG Kinaliada F514 made a port of call visit to Sri Lanka and is docked at the port of Colombo. Last evening, a reception was organized on board the ship and the event was graced by the Turkey ambassador to Sri Lanka and the State Defense Minister and the Navy commander. The 99.5-meter long ship serves in the Turkish Naval Forces and she is manned by 152 as crew members. The ship is commanded by Commander Serkan Dogan. Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey also spoke at the event.
Based on the founding principle of Turkey, peace at home, peace in the world, Turkish foreign policy focuses on peace and stability in its region and beyond, aiming to establish partnerships around the world for international peace and security. Located at the crossroads of civilizations, Turkey is the westernmost country of Asia and the easternmost country of Europe. Based on its profound historical and cultural ties with Asia, we seek to strengthen our cooperation with Asian countries through the Asia New initiative launched in 2019. The initiative provides a new vision for our outlook to the Indian Ocean region as well. In this respect, we see Sri Lanka, the pearl of the Indian Ocean, as a valuable and friendly partner.
TCG Kinaliada F514 is the Turkish Naval Force's fourth and final Ada-class corvette.
The modern relationship of Turkey and Sri Lanka goes back many years. Turkey and Sri Lanka hold the freedom of seas very close to our hearts. And of course, the last year, it was the army commander, he was the first to express the solidarity with Her Excellency, your predecessor then, when the terrible earthquake hit the land of Turkey, and that he was the first to offer assistance in whatever the way that was possible. And we all stood standby for a call up, support you at that terrible time. So this shows that how close that we Sri Lankan with the people of Turkey, Your Excellency.
Diplomats, among others, were present at this event. Concluding her official visit, TCG Kinaliada will depart the island on the 11th of July. Upon her departure, the ship will engage in a passage exercise with a Sri Lankan Navy ship in Colombo seas.
Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideki, expressed Japan's continued commitment to supporting women and children in Sri Lanka, emphasizing the importance of efforts in fostering a safe and more equitable society. He expressed these views at the opening ceremony of the emergency waiting area at Mirihana Women's and Children's Bureau.
The newly constructed emergency waiting area at the Mirihana Women and Children's Bureau was launched and handed over yesterday to the Sri Lanka Police, marking a significant milestone in the ongoing efforts to provide safe and secure spaces for women and children during times of distress owing to gender-based violence. The opening ceremony was attended by Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideki, Ministry of Public Security Tiranalis, among others. Ambassador Mizukoshi Hideki highlighted Japan's commitment to ending gender-based violence.
This initiative marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts to protect and support the most vulnerable women and children in our society who have experienced violence and abuse. Ensuring safety and protection of women and children from violation and abuse is of vital importance as it safeguards human dignity and allow for their economic and social empowerment. This is becoming more and more significant as Sri Lanka is struggling to overcome the current economic challenge and achieve its sustainable development. The government of Japan advocates a women, peace and security agenda, which aims to protect women and girls in crisis situations and promote their participation in peace and security.
The emergency waiting area in Mirihana joins a network of operational emergency waiting areas across Sri Lanka, including those in Jaffna, Pudukkudiripu, Batticaloa, Mundalam, Kandy and Nuwara. Operated under the purview of the Bureau for the Prevention of Abuse of Children and Women, these emergency waiting areas provide assistance, ensure the safety and dignity of survivors, and offer access to a range of support services, including medical assistance, counseling, legal aid, and referrals to shelters.
The US government has extended support for Sri Lanka's trade national single window system.
The United States, through the United States Agency for International Development, is supporting the Sri Lankan Ministry of Finance to modernize the country's trade facilitation infrastructure through the implementation of Sri Lanka's trade national single window system. The TNSWS, when operational, will streamline the collection of information required for trade, leading to increased transparency and efficiency
reduced costs and more potential revenue. As part of the World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement, which Sri Lanka signed in 2017, implementation of a TNSWS is required. Implementation of a TNSWS received cabinet approval in 2022. Over the past year, the United States has provided technical assistance to help the government of Sri Lanka establish a project implementation unit to lead the TNSWS project.
Day 35 of the third phase of the LOLC Divi Savia program, which is being carried out for the betterment of Sri Lanka's future generation, got underway today.
Under the Devisavya program, exercise books and stationery equipment required for a year are distributed free of charge to government schools with less than 150 students. Today's program was centered around the Ampara district. Accordingly, school bags and stationery equipment were donated to students of Veeragoda Vidyalaya, Sri Sumangala Vidyalaya, Rajagama Vidyalaya, Saddhatissa Primary School, Vidya Shastra Model Primary School, Karanagawa Janraja Vidyalaya at the Ampara Zonal Education Office. The LOLC Devisavya program continues to forge ahead for the future generation of Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
Night.